In an article at The Athletic, Ken Rosenthal has linked the Seattle Mariners to 4 potential landing spots for some of their starting pitchers and saying that they are considering trading one of their young controllable starting pitchers. In fact, Rosenthal even goes so far as to call the Mariners a team to watch at the MLB Trade Deadline. But what could the teams that he linked the Mariners to offer the Mariners for one of their young controllable starting pitchers? And also, would the Mariners even entertain the thought of trading one of these guys? As the deadline nears, the Mariners remain a team to watch. They have the one commodity virtually every other contender wants: controllable starting pitching. And as interest in their pitchers mount, they are considering trading a starter for a package that would include a hitter of similar age and impact, according to sources briefed on their thinking. Now, this makes sense. We've talked a lot about the Mariners trading one of their young starting pitchers. Hell, we had a video about trading Logan Gilbert to the Cardinals or Brian Wu to the Cardinals, etc., etc. You also may be thinking to yourself, Colton, why are you always wearing the same shirt when you record these videos? It's because I'm recording these all on the same day. And it's true, 4 of the 5 Mariners starters right now are under the age of 26. Of course, Logan Gilbert and George Kirby, and Bryce Miller and Brian Wu. They also have Emerson Hancock, who's 24 years old, down in Arkansas, who was just named the Texas League Pitcher of the Month in June. Rosenthal says if the Mariners traded a starter, they would want the players they obtained, combined with the promotion of Emerson Hancock, to enhance their playoff odds, which according to Fangraphs currently stand at 14.2%. He notes that the Rays, the Orioles, and the Diamondbacks are among contenders who could be a match, and so could a non-contender such as the Cardinals, as mentioned earlier this week. Now, what's super interesting to me is when he talks about the trade the Angels made for Lucas Giolito and Reynaldo Lopez. In return, they got Edgar Quero and Kai Bush, a catcher and a left-handed pitcher. Edgar Quero was the number 84 prospect according to Baseball America's rankings, and they were in the top 5 prospects of the Angels farm system. That's for 2 months of Lucas Giolito and 2 months of Reynaldo Lopez. So trading one of these young guys who have 5 years of control left would mean getting back a much bigger package than that. Better than 2 guys in a team's top 5, because we can argue that all of these guys are better than Lucas Giolito and Reynaldo Lopez. If I had to pick someone for the rest of the year, I'd probably go with like Bryce Miller over Lucas Giolito for the rest of 2023. And Rosenthal even notes that a trade straight up for a hitter, let's say like a Blaze Alexander from the Diamondbacks, probably isn't something that Jerry Dipoto would want to do. He would want someone who's already a star hitter. Of course, in my head, that just makes me think Brendan Donovan. You guys know how I feel about Donovan. I want him very badly for the Seattle Mariners. With that being said, the Mariners don't have a whole lot to offer in the minor leagues right now other than Emerson Hancock. Again, he's a guy that I could see getting traded. Of all the starting pitchers, Emerson Hancock's the one. He is probably MLB ready, and while I think he's probably no better than a maybe low 3 in most rotations, Emerson Hancock could fetch you something quite nice at the MLB Trade Deadline this year. But again, if let's say Brian Wu gets shut down, Emerson Hancock at the moment is the guy that you're going to put in that spot. You could get starts out of like Tommy Malone or something, but if you are in a playoff hunt, you don't want to throw just random guys out there. So with that being said, the Mariners would have to go out and get a 5th starter if they were to trade Brian Wu or Emerson Hancock. And of course, with Brian Wu getting shut down, that 5th starter spot is not a lock. So the 4 teams that Rosenthal noted, the Rays, the Orioles, the Diamondbacks, and the Cardinals. What could they offer the Seattle Mariners? Starting with the St. Louis Cardinals, just because I've talked about them so freaking much lately, Brendan Donovan, of course, is the guy. But also, you could be looking at Dylan Carlson. You could even be looking at both of them if you were to trade like a Logan Gilbert or something like that to the Cardinals. Should the Mariners do that? I don't think so. I think Logan Gilbert needs to stay. Again, the 2 guys I am most willing to trade are Brian Wu and Emerson Hancock. Brian Wu makes sense for the Cardinals because he's going to need to be shut down soon for his innings limit. And they're not in contention this year, but they want to be in 2024. So Wu just makes sense. He'll be back in 2024. Hancock, they could slot into their rotation right now, especially if they were to trade like a Jack Flaherty or something. Let him get his feet wet. But I think Dylan Carlson and Brendan Donovan, those are the 2 guys I'd look at the most out of that group. I doubt that Jordan Walker is available. I'd love to have Jordan Walker as well, but Dylan Carlson or Brendan Donovan or some combination of the 3 I think is where you would head if you're the Mariners looking at the Cardinals. You're probably not going to get Lars Nootbaar. I don't even know if I would want Lars Nootbaar. I'd want more than just Nootbaar in my opinion. Next up, the Diamondbacks. We started with Blaze Alexander. He's a guy who has played up the middle throughout his career. He's shown out really well at AAA. and he's a guy that could very well come up for the Mariners right away and take over second base. Other than the fact that he has one of the coolest names in the sport and 166 at-bats in 2023, Blaze Alexander's hitting 305, 380, 525. He has 6 home runs with 31 RBIs in those 42 games. Alexander can play shortstop, second base, and third base. He bats right and throws right. He has just turned 24 years old, so he's still young as well. Honestly, Blaze Alexander is a guy that I could certainly see you trading Emerson Hancock straight up for. Of course, then you still need to go out and find a way to replace that pitcher down in the minor leagues so you have some backup if someone was to get hurt or someone gets traded. I don't have anyone specific in mind. I'm really just trying to fill that second base spot for the Mariners. So right now, Hancock for Blaze Alexander maybe kind of makes sense. It's a prospect swap. Both guys could slot right in for the major league team and just see what happens. Looking at the Baltimore Orioles, you could look at maybe Austin Hayes, who's been relatively decent this year. He's in his first year of arbitration in 2023, so he'll have 2 more years with you after that. But if you're trading any of your young, controllable starting pitching, you're going to want more than just someone like Austin Hayes. Could you get a Jackson Holiday out of them? Maybe if you're trading like Logan Gilbert for Jackson Holiday and, I don't know, Austin Hayes or something. That might be too rich for the Orioles, honestly. It's possible. Holiday is the #1 prospect in the Orioles organization. He plays shortstop for them. Easily could slide over to second base. We saw him at the Futures game in Seattle in July. He bats left, throws right. I don't know. Jackson Holiday is just a guy that we could throw out there. Joey Ortiz is another one. Ortiz is a shortstop, second baseman. He is expected to be in the major leagues in 2023. He's a bit on the older side, already 25 years old. I honestly doubt that you get like a Heston Kjerstad or a Colton Cowser or something like that. Obviously, those are guys that could very well be on their major league roster right now. Their starting pitching, of course, has been hit or miss. Kyle Bradish, for example, or Grayson Rodriguez. So throwing a Logan Gilbert in there would add a lot of stability, but I don't necessarily know how the Orioles match up in terms of players they can send back to the Mariners. Holiday is just at AA. You might be able to see him in late 2024, but he does not give you that bat right this second. Austin Hayes, of course, would. You can put him in left field. You don't have a left fielder right now. I don't necessarily see where the Orioles fit in here. And then that leaves us with the Tampa Bay Rays. I've talked a lot about Jonathan Aranda coming over to the Mariners. He could slot right in over at second base. He has been back and forth between the MLB and AAA so far this year. He's a guy that's really blocked at the major league level. The Mariners could easily slot him in at second if they were to trade maybe like a, I don't know, Brian Wu or even a Logan Gilbert. If you were to trade Logan Gilbert to the Rays, you would need to get back a frickin' haul. I'm talking Jonathan Aranda. I'm talking Curtis Mead, maybe even a Kyle Manzardo. You're going to get a lot if you're trading Logan Gilbert, in my opinion, to the Tampa Bay Rays. Maybe you throw some money in there just to offset his arbitration years. But nonetheless, if you're trading Logan Gilbert to the Rays, you need to get quite a bit back. Maybe you trade Emerson Hancock straight up for Jonathan Aranda, just to kind of, again, prospect swap, similar to what you did with the Diamondbacks. You get a second baseman back in return and you ship off a guy who could probably start for them right now. Honestly, trading a starting pitcher is going to be difficult for the Mariners because we don't really know where their rotation stands right now. And I think a trade with either the Cardinals or the Rays make the most sense. And I actually made a specific trade with both teams in this trade deadline video that Joe and I made. I want you to check that one out next. I appreciate you guys watching this one, and go Mariners.